Good evening. My name is Cornu, and some of you might think that this election is about electing the parish dog catcher, because some of them are playing at a very low key, and they're quite happy that this should be a low turnout election. I'm not. I'm out every night, knocking doors, voter registration forms in hand, and I'm registering people and trying to persuade them to overcome that 70% voter abstention, that politicians do care and that they can make a difference. Nor is it a beauty competition, because I would have lost at the outset. It's an serious and important election. Whoever is elected is going to be a deputy deciding policy and, for example, the location of the hospital. I've got an invitation to make to you. I'd like you to all attend, and that includes the candidates here, at the demonstration on Saturday in Howard Davis Park. Starts at 10, kick-off at 10:30. It's marching in support of nurses, civil servants, and teachers who are making wage demands. Simple cost of living. I will have with me a notebook, and I will be noting in that notebook which candidates have attended and which have not, and I'll be reporting back at the next Hustings, because it's important that you should know which side are they on, because when they knock on your door, they're going to tell you whatever you want to hear. And the great claim is, they tell you one thing and they do another. I don't. I do what it says on the tin. I represent the interest of working people, of pensioners, the most vulnerable. This is an island run for the rich and the powerful. I know it. When I exposed the election expenses scandal, it was evident. The political class got their get-out-of-jail-free card. You saw that 25 candidates in the May election and 30 states members can't fill in electoral register form and get it in on time. It's a lack of respect for you. And the role of the Attorney General was equally inept. He knew full well there were at least another 30 persons who he could have prosecuted, but he picked out 3 and he persecuted them. His hallmark is persecution. I think I have a vision of a different Jersey, a modernised Jersey, a democratic Jersey, not an authoritarian Jersey, which is the one that we seem to have at the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The hospital, well, anywhere but Gloucester Street, I think, where it would simply have been a wind tunnel, a huge battleship sitting there, wholly inappropriate. The possibility seems to be Overdale. I was round the site. I'm not an expert on this, but I would take advice. I would see what the experts had to say to us and persuade us. It's a bit like Brexit, the hospital at the moment. It's crowding out all the other social issues that are very important and need to be addressed, and that includes pensioner poverty. Because we live in an island which is grossly unequal, and that inequality is ever growing, and it's something I want to address. And there's no one in the States who's really shouting about it and saying it's wholly unacceptable. There are lots of issues, an ageing population, and we're forcing people to stay in their homes, and we aren't properly addressing the issues of how those homes are adapted. Andium homes, for example, this idea of the rents being at 90% of market rent, they're simply propping up exorbitant rents in the private sector. A lot of pensioners will be looking to go into those sort of housing if they don't own, and they're hoped to be protected. At least they have security of tenure there. But generally they're dependent. The problem is, of course, that we have a low tax, low spend model, and the income that's generated tends to go to modest welfare, modest provision. That is the problem. If you want better services, you're going to have to pay more tax, we're going to have to find a way to tax companies and particularly tax the wealthy, because capital is avoiding tax. Thank you.
Thank you.
I call myself a socialist, and I have a critique of actually existing capitalism. The candidates up and down here are primarily of the right, various shades, and if you choose one of them, you'll get the same policies with no critique of what can possibly be done or any of the solutions that are going to affect would improve the lives of working people in this island. We've got a system here based on competitiveness, performance, profitability, and the trickle down of wealth from the top. We've got constant policy of tax exemptions for capital and companies. And the transfer of tax and the social burden is onto the households, especially the modest. And what we've got is increasingly unequal taxes of consumption in the name of competitiveness. That needs to change. New Jersey has a particular low tax, low spend model. Everything is about the fact that the government doesn't spend enough. That's because, of course, it can't tax capital. It's working people. It's those who actually earn income, wages. They are the ones increasingly where the burden of taxation falls. You wonder why your taxes are going up or appear to be. It's because the government is deliberate. It's a policy. Fort Regent, likewise, complete bankruptcy of their imagination of the rulers of this island. It's a beautiful fort, a monument. But they don't want to do anything with it because they can't make a profit out of it. They can't see how they could knock it down and sell it to Dandara and build luxury homes for investors. What we need is investment in that fort. I was looking from the hospital up here, across from number 3 to number 1. And what do we see? 2 abandoned monuments. It's abandoned because that is the attitude of this government. If it doesn't make any money, well, we'll just forget about it. We can't forget about Fort Regent. It is an important historical object and it should be protected.
Thank you very much. Andrea.
Care homes are, in one word, a racket. Often owned by UK companies, probably not paying tax here. They are sources of exploitation of their labour. I act for many care home employees, and when I go around knocking on the doors, as I've done in this district, I often come across care workers, and I often pump them for information, and I'm often shocked that they're prepared to tell me about the poor standards of care which operate in their home, but they're not and cannot say anything because they're not organised, they're not unionised, they dare not put their head above the parapet or they will be sacked. They're constantly told, if you don't like it, there's a door over there. That's the attitude of the management. That needs to change. After this election, I'm going back to help one particular lady, and we're going to unionise her institution, and we're going to get her pay rises, and we're going to get her a bank holidays, because the nurses get them, but she doesn't. It also affects the Portuguese community, the Polish community, the Romanian community, because they're the main workers in those sections. Likewise, in private care, I mean, I know personally some people who go out and do that. They've got these, they're going here, there, across the island, and it's very poor provision, and it's very expensive. We know, for the middle classes, that means the end of the home. You're going to send it. If your parent lingers, and that's the way it's viewed, the house will go. 60,000 a year. It's outrageous. There has to be another way to address it. But it's the problem of an ageing population. And it's coming rapidly. And we're going to have to address it by new forms of social solidarity to look after the elderly. That'll include me. Thank you.